Hello. First and foremost, it has nothing to do with startups, but it has to do with what you're hearing. Thank you to each and every one of you that shared your home remedies for the hay fever kind of stuff. I really appreciate it. Tried some of it, so it works. Some of it I couldn't try, but I appreciate each and every one of you who helped with that, and hopefully this is not much longer. Hopefully I'm moving into another season of hay fever, so I don't sound like garbage while I'm trying to record this stuff. But I appreciate you putting up with it, because every week important startup news, and I try and bring it to you, despite the fact that I sound even more nasally and monotone than I usually do. So what we're going to talk about this week, I finally wrote a thing I've been meaning to write for a very long time. It's something that I say time and time again ad nauseum, and I'm happy to share with you. I will kind of give you a brief on it, and if you're interested in reading more, I wrote the whole thing up so you can read that. Your startup might have the chance to win
$1 million.
in investment. There's a big competition coming up that I'd like to talk a bit about. We just had the Oregon UAS Accelerator drone, counter-drone, drone-adjacent demo day, and they recorded it for you, so I will tell you a little bit more about that, and of course link that up. And then, as always, if you stick around until the end, there will be a few secrets where I take you through, what's going on in my world, who I talked to, who I met, those kind of things. So quickly, before we get into those big stories, we reached a milestone on the Portland Startup Slack. If you're not familiar with Portland Startup Slack, it is an open Slack instance designed to help people in our community get better connected and collaborate with one another, and also people who might be thinking about moving to Portland, or interested, people from other areas of Oregon or the Pacific Northwest who want some time to hang out with Portland people in a virtual environment like Slack. We hit 8,000 member profiles on the Portland Startup Slack. 8,000 people at some point or another. Well, it might even be 8,000 people, because sometimes people hit me up and they're like, oh, I forgot my login. I need to create a new account. But anyway, 8,000 profiles on there. That's nothing to shake a stick at or a slack at or whatever I'm supposed to say in that regard. Granted, they're not active, but there is a growing group of people who are active on that Slack every single day. So if you're interested in connecting with the Portland startup community and you're a Slack user, please join us over on Portland Startup Slack. It's just pdxslack.com. You'll be able to sign up and you can come hang out with us and post things and say things and comment and talk and all those kind of things. Our mayor, I don't know why I froze up there. Portland's Mayor Keith Wilson provided his state of the city. Very optimistic. You can watch it. It was recorded. There were some good things in there. I realize the mayor has an incredibly difficult job with tons of different priorities and people wanting the mayor to do things and city council to do things. So it's always good to hear directly from the mayor about what's going on and what he sees is happening in a positive way. So if that's of interest to you, if you're interested in what's going on in Portland proper and how Mayor Keith Wilson is feeling about what's going on in Portland proper, please check out the State of the City, State of Portland address that the Mayor Keith Wilson provided. And then another little one, Panic. Panic that has made amazing Mac OS software for years and years and years. Just a really creative, compelling, delightful company here in Portland. And then, of course, the co-founder, Cable Sasser, writes up these great pieces where he goes underneath the Piddock block to find the internet node that's down there, or he goes to this McDonald's to find this weird art piece from a McDonald's. Like he does interesting stuff in and of himself. So it comes as absolutely no surprise to me that his ethos kind of translates into Panic's ethos. Panic has recently started publishing video games as a publisher and helping support that industry. They created their own handheld platform for video games called Playdate. And apparently in one of the games, also Playdate has changed the way people are teaching folks how to code games, which is amazing. But apparently there's an Easter egg on one of the games that basically says, send us a note. Here's an address to send us a physical note or a physical thing describing, how you've had fun with the games or something you'd like us to know. And so they wind up with like boxes and boxes and boxes of mail every week. There was just a really interesting story on that. And I love celebrating Panic because they're just such like a unique and delightful company here in town. And I always like to remind people, especially when they're like, ooh, tech bad, tech equal bad. I'm like, Panic equal good and cool. So take a look at Panic as an example of what a successful software company could and should look like in Portland. So look forward to hearing more about all the other things that Panic is up to. Okay. Big, deep dives, deep stories here. And it dawned on me after I wrote this one, it's VC squared. Because what I'm talking about, what I continue to talk to people about, and I've never written it up, and I finally took the time to do it, this VC squared, it's the vicious cycle of venture capital, VC squared. And what I mean by a vicious cycle is a dynamic that happens in Portland time and time again, which I'll see if I can be brief about it. I wrote up a whole post, so I didn't have to talk to you about it. Again, if it's of interest and you want me to go in depth, I'm happy to record another video where I do a deep dive on this vicious cycle. But basically, the premise of this vicious cycle is this. In Portland, which tends to be a very risk-averse community, there is a lack of early stage capital. So when early stage founders are, supposed to be focused on building product and finding customers and all those kind of things, they're instead out tin cupping around to other communities looking for investors who will give them capital to help build their company. So they're in the Bay Area, they're in Seattle, they're back east, they're bouncing all over the place. And because of that, because they're not ill-focused, they're just not able to spend the time and energy on the product and the company because they're out chasing money to finance the building of the company, and kind of slows down their growth at the very earliest stages, which translates into them growing more slowly over time. Even if they hit that essential, like exponential inflection point to grow their company, it takes a lot longer. So instead of it being like 5 years to build an exit, it takes 10, 15, sometimes longer for those companies to build an exit. Which means if the founder is lucky enough to have a liquidity event, generally they are like, it took me a long time to make this money. I don't know that I have another 15 years in me to build another startup to generate more wealth. And so when people come to them and they're like, hey, would you please invest in my early stage startup? They're like, I don't know. It took me a while and a lot to make this money. I don't know that I want to risk it on your early stage startup. And that's the vicious cycle. So no early stage capital, long growth trajectory, takes way longer. People who are lucky enough to have a successful exit liquidity event are suddenly like more risk averse because of the time it took them to get that. And so this just is a vicious cycle that continues time and time again and makes it really challenging to build early stage startups here in town. I go into a lot more depth. I just wanted you to be aware of that because I'm always hearing from founders. They're like, why is Portland so risk averse? Why is it so hard to find early stage capital? Why am I getting asked like Series B due diligence questions for a $10,000 check? That whole vicious cycle plays in to this situation for founders. So if you are a founder who is struggling to raise early stage capital locally, just know that this is an understood dynamic, and it's really going to take some thoughtful investors to help break us out of it at some point. But for now, I just want you to know it's okay to be frustrated, but there's a reason that this is happening. So I wrote that up. I will link that up. Look forward to your feedback on it. If you have other insights, again, this is just from my perspective, 30 years in the venture-funded tech community in Portland, seeing both as an employee and somebody who helped founders raise capital, as well as running Startup Accelerator, writing Silicon Florist, telling you these stories. That's the dynamic I see. It's this vicious cycle of VC, which, you can avoid completely by just building a company on revenue, by bootstrapping. But if you feel that VC is something your company should and could do, then you're going to experience that dynamic. So please read that. Let me know if I need to do a longer, deeper dive on it. Happy to do that. But hopefully the piece covers a lot of that. Okay, I mentioned at the top, you're like, $1 million for my startup? How could I get $1 million in investment for my startup? Well, it all comes down to the World Cup. Not the FIFA World Cup, which is also coming to the U.S., but who knows how many teams will actually show up to play in the U.S. But so it's not the FIFA World Cup. It is the Startup World Cup, which is a series of like regional competitions, just like the FIFA World Cup, where companies compete and then eventually get to go to a global competition, kind of like Thai women that I've talked about in the past, where they have regional competitions, and then eventually some teams, usually some teams from Portland, get to go to India to participate in the Thai Women Global Competition. The Startup World Cup competition is exactly like that. And we are hosting a regional competition in Portland this time. If you want to participate, if you want to take the chance, you need to get your apps in. Applications are due early May, so please don't procrastinate. That's not very far away. I know you're like, well, we're still in April. I got plenty of time. Get to work on your application. Like, get your application in so you can participate in the regional competition, maybe go to the global competition, maybe get $1 million of investment for your startup. And I know I've told you time and time again, I'm not a huge fan of pitch competitions.
I volunteer as tribute.
But that being said, if you think you have the potential to compete on a global stage and win that, getting $1 million of investment may be well worth your time, especially given the vicious cycle of venture capital.
$1 million.
We were talking about. So I'm really excited to see what happens. Portland's done this a few times before, like with the 1776 Challenge Cup. We did that. We've had other competitions, again, like Thai, I mentioned, where people get to go on a global stage. This is a new opportunity. We've never done this before. We've never had a regional for Portland in the Startup World Cup. And so you are invited to apply to be part of the inaugural regional Portland Startup World Cup. And I hope you apply. I hope you get accepted. And I hope to see you on stage at the global competition. Okay, and then finally, our friends out in Pendleton at the Oregon UAS Accelerator, the unpersoned aerial systems, the drone accelerator, but they also do counter-drone stuff, and they do, what am I trying to think of? Drone adjacent kind of thing. So it doesn't have to be like you're building a vehicle, a drone vehicle. You could be building software, or you could be building other technology that is either counter drone or pro drone. Anyway, they just had another demo day. 12 companies participated in that demo day. They recorded the whole thing, so I've got it for you. I just wanted to take you through the 12 companies that were pitching so that you're aware in case you want to go see what they had to say. about their solution. So the companies were American Tenant, which was ultra-low-cost drone decoy systems, Etherform, distributed drone defense with software-guided interceptors, FlyX Technologies, swarm drones, monitoring power grids and pipelines, Ganeo, electromagnetic suspension systems for vehicles, HAST on autonomous VTOL aircraft for medical supply delivery between hospitals, Humankind Homes, full disclosure, Pylum, Humankind Homes, carbon negative concrete blocks designed for drone assembly. Drones building houses. So that's interesting. I would say that was interesting even if they weren't a Pylum, as I'm the co-founder and general manager of Pi. Lyrica Technologies, autonomous maritime defense for commercial vessels, MAV Unlimited, next generation 3D printing via volumetric manufacturing, Osprey CUAS, which is backpack portable counter drone detection, outer rim exploration, muon imaging for critical mineral discovery, muon, prairie schooner. that one always gets me.
Wow, it's a schooner!
You dumb bastard. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat.
A schooner is a sailboat, stupid head.
It's a sailboat. Prairie schooner, autonomous military command and control, and finally Sea Stereo, which is automated aerial fish counting for aquaculture. Again, I'll link up the videos so you can watch it. I created a playlist. It's a couple hours long, split into 2 videos, but I created a playlist so you can just watch it right through at whatever speed you want to. I'm kind of a 2x kind of guy myself, kind of do the 2x, 2.5x. I sincerely hoping that you're watching this on 2x, because why would you sit through this at normal speed or, God forbid, like slower than normal speed? Please don't do that to yourself, please. It's hard enough for you to get through this and all the things and all the stuff. So 2x for this video, 2x for the podcast, 2x. Anywhere you can 2x me, please. 2x me, because I like you and I want you to be happy and getting the information you need, but not having to suffer through it. Listening to me at regular speed, especially with my voice and all those kind of things. Okay. If you haven't stayed this long before, I call this section Secrets. I just kind of drop out of character, become normal me, and just share what's been going on this week. This week, I met with a bunch of founders, some really cool companies, folks that I hadn't had the chance to chat with. Got the opportunity to, I really don't want to mispronounce this, the Chief Prosperity Officer of Oregon was holding a listening session for a bunch of startups. I got to participate in that. Tim Knope came to Portland, hung out with folks. There were actually a lot of drone folks in that conversation, but also, some other really hard tech kind of things, former Intel folks working on stuff. It was an interesting group. There was a vinyl, like the LP vinyl kind of startup that was super interesting. Lots of interesting things. Good conversation. Very similar, like concerns, complaints, access to capital, obviously, on the mind of many people, state support, those kind of things. It was just a really good conversation. I don't know that I'm allowed to share any of that conversation, but if in fact I am, I will do that for you in the future. I took lots of notes. And again, much like when I asked you to respond to the Prosperity Council survey, a lot of those same things came out. So maybe that would be helpful. I should go back through the Prosperity Council survey because I can see all the responses and give you a rundown of the kind of consistent elements that came out of there, many of which were reflected in this meeting. So that might be helpful. Got to catch up with a lot of Pi mentors, like several Pi mentors this week. Ran into Diane Freeman, got to chat with her a little bit, Diane Freeman from Voyager Capital. Always good to accidentally run into her. And a little bit of a personal milestone for me. It was 8 years ago this week. I had the opportunity to stand in front of thousands of people on the TEDx Portland stage and share some thoughts and some tips and tricks on networking as an introvert. So if that's something that my beard was in much better shape back then, if that's something that's of interest to you, I will link that up as well. You can watch that. Hopefully those insights and tips are valuable to you if you haven't seen me do that talk before. Again, bucket list, definitely. Worked really hard on it. Had so many people provide feedback, like Stephen Green, Mitch Doherty, Mike Pacquiao, and then of course Randy Gleason, who is my coach and also my co-founder at Pi. But also Cami had to listen to me give it like thousands and thousands of times. So thank you to Cami Chaos for putting up with that as well. I'm really happy I finally got that vicious cycle story out. Again, I talk about it on a weekly basis, so just to have it documented, I think is helpful, and I hope that's helpful to you. Working on a couple of other pieces that hopefully similarly, like things I say all the time or talk to people about all the time, that I feel would make valuable pieces for people to have at their disposal. And again, if you're like, I don't want to read all that shit, just tell me about it. I am happy to do the deep dive video on that, just as another form of content on here as well. Okay. The tree pollen's coming down, so hopefully I won't be so awful and nasally and throat scratchy in the not too distant future. Of course, then I'll be allergic to mold or grass or flowers or something. It's just kind of how it is. I sincerely hope that hay fever is not kicking your ass. I hope you're hanging in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.